Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, this is the press reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. Now we've been joined by our guest, Azeez Adesokan, who's a journalist, to help us analyze on most of the headlines we've just read out to you. Do not forget, this is a segment where our phone lines are open for you to now call in and make your contributions known. You're welcome to the studio, Mr. Fatai.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome to the program.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Thank God.
Well, I can see you're all smiling.
Happy New Month.
I should
we
say.
listened and watched Mr. President yesterday, so it calls for smiling this morning.
Oh, I was going to start from there because you said, I saw you smiling, so I want to believe that it probably had to do with, aside the fact that it's a new month, it probably had to do with the fact that, you know, the President addressed the nation yesterday. So I'm going to start with the national broadcast.
Yeah, it's a big plus for our democratic culture. At least we are seeing President saying to our plights, identifying with us. Is a big plus to nascent democratic culture. God forbid, say no to military coup in our country again. We see how things went by yesterday evening. It speaks volume how a president actually felt the pulse of the country. That, people, I am actually aware what you are going through. Cost of fuel, pump price of commodities, food, everything is just skyrocketing. And he gave us reasons why, what informed such astronomical increase in all facets, and you just have to face it once and for all. It has become economically cancerous, the subsidy of a thing, and Nigeria is no longer sustainable about it again. So is one, and unfortunately we Nigerians, we need to bear the brunt of ineptitude and lack of leadership over the years, because it transcends this particular government. The government is just 60 days old, and we cannot expect a miracle to come into being. We had a president for 80 years, and nothing significant was done to our local production for local consumption of our crude oil. And we knew that this perennial crisis of this fuel of a thing has always been there under Babangida regime, under Abacha regime, Obasanjo regime. Obasanjo, to an extent, tackled this to an extent, but he couldn't get the result. At the twilight of his administration, he actually sold off refineries to Blue Consortium, the Dangote and the Femi Otedola. So just 2 months later, by the time Yar'Adua came in, he cancelled the sale. So we now went back to square one. From Jonathan regime and Yar'Adua regime, the subsidy regime went to about 1.2 trillion from 400 billion naira. Obasanjo left it at 150 billion. Yar'Adua regime rose it to 400 billion. So some people just sat down somewhere and just said, Olamide, we brought your fuel, and this landing cost is not 100 naira again, it's 120. Forcing the government to cough out money. And NNPC has now become insolvent. Nigeria is broke. That's the reality. Forget about, we have NNPC. It's broke. Nigeria is broke. That's the truth. We have 46 trillion naira debt. The debt is not the problem. We borrow for consumption under Buhari regime. We borrow for consumption to fund, to subsidize the fuel, to fund the budget deficits, and to fund the loans. Now we have 46 trillion hanging on our neck without nothing to show for it. It's a big minus for our country and a national embarrassment. But for the first time, we had a president that addressed us. It's not yet Uru. The tough times are here. Things are tough.
60 days, 3 times address already in 60 days.
Yes, it has to be a continuous engagement. That is leadership. You have to be continuing to be engaging your people. My people, I'm here on your behalf. This is development on ground. This is the platform we are into. This is a concept we are developing. It needs to, in another 4 weeks, it needs to address us again. That means we will know what is going on in government. He told us already what has been saved. 1 trillion naira, which naturally would have just gone to the pockets of certain cabals, less than 50 people in our country, holding us to ransom, economically ransom. It's not tenable anyway, and it's not a serious country that does that. Refining your crude oil from overseas, killing your petrochemical industries, jobs. When I was young in Lagos, in Lagos, you see our the older ones at that time coming from Ikeja Industrial Avenue, Ilupeju, Oshodi, coming from work. Now where is the job? There's no job anyway. There's no job.
Let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're welcome to the press. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from the Benue State.
All right, please join the conversation, Collins.
Please, there are so many things that I just have in mind this morning.
Wow, I'd love you to
like
just shelf it and just make it in 60
preliminary
seconds.
That the ministerial nominees we are being called off to bow. Some of them we had to bow before they left. There, some are being questioned before they left. I was just being ashamed of, especially this dispensation of democracy of 18.
Yeah.
Okay, look at the other man that came. You see, he have 2 credits. I could remember the last time I wrote JAMB. I have 178, just 2 to give me admission. I couldn't make it. And in terms of that time, you are not having less than 5 credits before giving an admission. Somebody say you have 2 credits. It's a shame. The whole world are watching us. Okay, look at the other person from Benue State, a professor. You say you enter secondary school at the age of 2000 and I couldn't remember. You see he finished up from primary school 1990, 1989, he entered secondary school 1990. This time around we have entered into SSC, you spent 6 years. And he say he finished from secondary school in 1995. That means for his own, he has 5 years. So he give himself a while to write with the reduction of 1 year to make his this. No, it's not fair. And there are so many things that was wrong yesterday. Okay, in terms of this address of
I'd like you to round up your
look,
thoughts.
everybody we are looking up to exactly where the problem is. If the pain is in your leg, hit at the pain. Anything we are doing now that we don't fix our refineries, then we are just messing up everything.
All right.
There are so many things that is going wrong. We need to fix the refinery. One person is having a refinery. That person is not from Nigeria. Where does he get the money from? Where does he originated from? Where was, in fact, look, the protest will go on. No.
It's okay.
We are just having some hours before tomorrow now.
All right, thank you
and
very
it will not
much,
be good.
Collins.
I pray let God just intervene.
All right, thank you very much, Collins. I was going to, apologies, I was going to go there. A lot of people, it's typical of us that irrespective of if you give us everything, we still have some parts that will still be lacking behind. Part of the conversations, regardless of what the president had said yesterday, all sounded like temporary solutions at the moment when it comes to something to cushion the effect of the removal of the fuel subsidy. And people are still questioning, why is it that there is no solution when it comes to the refineries? I think those were the parts that people were expecting the president to address, but he didn't. What's your thoughts on that? Yeah,
the president was deliberate on that aspect, and because he's aware of the realities on ground. He's seeing the books, and some of us actually are aware too. You will know that fixing up a refinery is not something you can do within 12 months. And building up a refinery will cost you nothing less than 24 months. It depends on the capacity, the volume of the refinery. So the president deliberately omitted fixing up our refineries because it's no longer tenable finding government in business. Because we've seen that over the years, Nigerian government from airways, we've seen from railway, we've seen that Nigerian civil service had not actually managed government enterprise very well. The reason we had BPE, and DPE sold off some of our national assets from Nikon Insurance, from Transcorp and what have you. And you see Transcorp today doing fine, making profit, declining in billions. But when it was under government, it was something else already. So Mr. President is aware of fixing up refineries is not something he can just sit down and announce to Nigerians. It's a technical platform, entirely different from executive declaration. So he was very, very conscious of the fact that not to raise the hope unnecessarily, that the temporary succor will come, and why the government will sit down. He's just making his own project proposal by October, November. His ministerial nominees are being screened, even though we've been seeing some certain dramas, like the caller mentioned, a professor having discrepancies, not too sure when in left secondary school or primary school. And you notice that it was a result of manipulation of ages. Reason that he was having, not that he didn't go to those schools, he had actually manipulated his age. So he was not trying to balance up in his resume. Reason you are having discrepancies. The same applied to a fellow that claimed to have 2 credits. For crying out loud, he shouldn't come to national TV to tell us he has 2 credits. All of us are not uniform in terms of brilliancy. We are not talking about brilliancy, we are talking about qualifications. And if you cannot qualify, if you are not qualified, you will not be on air. You have to be qualified. So those are the things that need to be looked into. We can't be promoting mediocrity and expect positive output.
Absolutely.
On the refinery part, you are going to see wonders from the government. I hope so, because the background of Mr. President is a private enterprise initiative, and he's going to come up with that. But in the interim, what he ought to have done is what he did yesterday, the best he could offer. I won't lie to you. I'm a Nigerian. I live here. My families are here. My mom, everybody, my children are here, and we stay here. Things are tough in the country, and so as a result of ineptitude of governance leadership over the years. So unfortunately, everything now stops at the desk of the incumbent president. We had a president for 8 years. You see, governor is not excuse arena. I'm just laying a background. A president for 8 years that knew that we had this perennial crisis of fuel, of everything in our country, and refused to solve it. We had a president that promised us the aviation industry will come on air. We saw Adesokan, the aviation minister. He wasted our 8 years. Just two or 4 days to go, he now paraded an airline around our airport
that we had just 5% stake in.
So it doesn't make any sense. So the same thing applied to Jonathan regime too. So if we've had 16 years of democracy in this country, or let me say 20 years of democracy, and successive government refuse to give us local production of crude, as in having a refinery, it speaks mockery of our democratic culture. It doesn't make any, it doesn't add up. It's beyond, I'm not playing, say, PDP, APC, I'm not concerned about your partisanship nomenclature. Were you a president? Yes, you're a president. What did you offer us? For 20 years, Obasanjo, Yaradua, Jonathan, Buhari, I wouldn't know if Tinubu will join the team. They couldn't give us what we ought to have been given, which is holistic economic approach. To have a refinery working or PPP arrangement is not difficult. You remember that we used to have monopoly of TV broadcast until Babangida regime actually lifted the decree. Then we had somebody that came up, Alego Dobesi, the Galaxy and the likes. You can see what KAFTAN TV is offering the populace. We can actually air our views now, unlike monopoly that we had in the past, where it was solely national TV of the government. But now we have options. Nobody will come and lie. That is the truth. And you can always say whatever you want to say, in as much as it's within decency and decorum platform. You can always say it to government. So it speaks volume how government has been run over the years. We need to move forward from here, and refinery must work if we have to move forward economically.
Certainly, I agree. Let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Steve Collins.
Oh.
I want to ask a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, like during the campaign of this particular government, there was a promise they made that this government will carry along the youth. I want us to examine the House of Assembly now, the House of Rep. How many age, like that kind 35, 45, can you find in the House of Rep? Then go to the House of Assembly, the National Assembly, the Red Chamber. Look at the clique of people there. I believe you cannot find 45 years there. No, you can't find it. Look, if you want to have peace, if you want to bring peace and bring development, make sure the youth, just like your second sitting close to you here, is among the lawmakers. Who are you going to use? Is it all the cliques, the cabals that have been working since 99, like the minister that we are interviewing here today? From all indications, how he was explaining himself, he has started right from chairmanship down to House of Rep, House of Assembly, down to the Senate. Now he was nominated as a minister. That means the power was recycling in the particular area.
All right, Mr. Collins, I'd like you to round up your thoughts.
The youth are not involved in this government. And there are so many things that are going on.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Collins. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Alhassan and Francis.
Good morning, Mr. Akim.
Yeah, Mr. Akim, exactly. Hello to your analyst.
Good morning.
Good morning. This morning, let me quickly go to my point. This morning, my contribution tends to support the president.
Okay.
I've been criticizing him for a while now. So for any reasonable human being that have had and read all the what he say he can offer, an immediate offer he can make to reduce the burden on Nigerians today, we know that Mr. President has done so well. That is just the fact. And let us not forget that the issue of the fuel subsidy removal is a necessity based on the fact that some people are just embezzling the money, which everybody understands. But nothing of such will not come with repercussion. And the repercussion is the pain that Nigerians are undergoing. And there's no way we are going to reverse that. If you reverse it, we are going to be in a more mess. So the best thing now, in seconds, please, or minutes, part of what he lay out that is going to be doing now is working closely with the local government and the state government to implement some intervention, like in terms of manufacturing sectors, provision for 75 billion, between 2023 and 2024 to fund 75 enterprises, right? So each one of these manufacturers will have 1 billion. This will boost and at a very reasonable 60-month repayment time. If we are really serious in this country, this is a very nice intervention, and it's a business not unlike the previous government that only dish out money without anything like income. Look at the micro small business also that are going to assist. Look at the MSME and other things that are going to be getting 500,000 to 1 million each and 9% interest. This is business this is what we need. This is what will boost the economy. Let me not say stupid people anyway. Nigeria were brilliant, but criticism or any critics now based on this plan is just politics. That's just the truth. And finally, if you look at the issue of, I did mention something on this platform, the issue of transportation. I'm very glad. Yes, I'm very glad that at least about 3,000 CNG fuel buses are going to be introduced, which is going to be also in business form. That's why we saw those transport business here stop. So at the end, you find out that Mr. President is really working brilliantly. I support him 100%. And the issue of National Assembly, only God will save us, because we need the men of God, not all these kind of people. But at the end of the day, finally, age doesn't mean anything. Performance is what matters. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
This is a lot. He said, "May God help us." Well, we're religious society, so we always pray to God.
Sense. Yes, he's making sense. But on the issue of what the government, the president made promise about youth inclusiveness, you cannot choose for other parties, and parties have nominated their candidates. Election has been held, and people have emerged. So you can't really address that again. That has actually gone by. Of essence is setting an economic agenda for the incoming cabinet members. What are the economic policy of government that will drive the inputs that we are looking forward to? Because right now, I won't lie to you, the country is not doing well economically. We need to rejig the economy. So we need to see things that key components of the economy are working right. Like Mr. President did mention yesterday, Mr. President actually addressed the key problems they are having economically. The dual exchange rates, and we are talking about perennial fuel subsidy, how trillions of naira actually just go into pockets of some people without mentioning names. It speaks volume how over the years we've been shortchanged as Nigerians, and things are not working for us. Reason is coming up with a policy that this money should go to Nigeria. It's Nigerian money. You go to Nigerians, not a tiny cabal holding us to ransom economically. And they so much enrich themselves. They can sponsor protests, they can sponsor rallies, they can sponsor anything. We are journalists, we know how these things work out. Some people just sit at the comfort, they can even be in the UK and sponsor protests against the government just for them to have continue of business as usual. That's the truth. And we must face this headlong. But unfortunately, we need to bear the brunt.
Indeed, we're bearing it.
Okay, let's look at, quite a lot has been said about the presidential speech yesterday, but I want to look at it from another perspective, and it's no other than the implementation of these things that these measures that the president has promised would be taken. Take, for example, the 75 billion naira that will be given to 75 enterprises at 9% interest per annum in 9 months. Now, let's look at it from this perspective. How well do you think these policies will be implemented? Because here, like, the president has gotten a lot of props for these measures. He has been applauded for listening to the cries of the citizens, and this is something that has eluded Nigerians for a very long time. We having a president that addresses us from time to time. But then it's at this point now, we have solved the problem of having a president that addresses the citizens. Yes, we have solved it. Now, how about the implementation of these measures? Because let's look at the 3,000 buses that will be brought into the country. The CNG buses. I hope these buses will not be distributed to companies owned by party members. This 75 billion naira that will be given to 75 enterprises, I hope it will not go to companies owned by party members that worked hard for the emergence of the new administration.
You are making sense. You are making sense, because we've seen it over the years, how national benefits go to pockets of party faithfuls, concubines, and what have you. We saw the revelation in PTDF when Atiku Abubakar was vice president at that time, when it was alleged that Mr. President at that time, Olusegun Obasanjo, ordered him through one bodun Adeniyi or so, aid to Mr. President at that time, Olusegun Obasanjo, to have gotten a Prado Jeep for a girlfriend. It was actually alleged on national TV when we have PTDF committee hosting Atiku Abubakar at that time as the chairman of PTDF. And with this kind of policy, you see, the way the concept is being developed, it's going to be captured through tax nets. The companies that are not well registered, companies that are not paying tax, companies that doesn't have data with the government will not benefit. That's the fact. Because through which the government will make money back from them too. Because you see the SA revenue to the government, to the president, and Zach Adelabu did mention on national TV that they are not going to burden Nigerians about tax, but they are going to, the efficiency in tax concept, they are going to bring it out so that government will have more revenue to deliver democratic deliverables. So in this concept, so those companies that are well known, not just Fatai and Sons or Adesokan and Sons, because I know Mr. President or I know Mr. Minister, so because I'm a member of APC or I'm a member of PDP, I should be one of the beneficiaries of this 75 billion. No, you must be an entrepreneur and your company must be well registered, and your data, your company data will be well tabled. So it's not something that's, no, it's not going to be that way. It's not business as usual.
Okay.
But the money is not free money.
Okay, that said and done, let's look at the big one yesterday, the ministerial screening that happened at the floor of the National Assembly. Here on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune says, Senate screens Wike Edu, Tunji Ojo 11 orders, sustains bow and go practice. I want to take it from the bow and go practice because I personally saw the screening process, and for some of the nominees, it was it was basically take your bow and go. Particularly for a senator who was a member of the 8th and 9th Senate and has now been nominated as
Senator Abba Kyari.
Senator Abba Kyari. And okay, you want to take the call?
No,
okay.
We lost
now, looking at the process, these are people that will be heading critical sectors of the economy. These are people that will be saddled with the responsibility of delivering the renewed hope agenda of the president, going through going through the bow and go process. Now we already we like just at the screening level, we're already having people who are having arguably questionable educational backgrounds and the likes. What are your thoughts on this?
All right, can I quickly take this call? Hello, good morning. Please turn down the volume of your TV set or step away from it. I think we lost that. All right, you can proceed.
Thank you very much, Francis. You see, if you are talking about bow and go, is a legislature and tradition. Is nothing inimical to democracy. And those that are actually given those privileges were Nelson Wike, former governor of Rivers State. He had been screened at the Senate before. I watched it live. He had been a minister under Ebele Jonathan regime. He had been screened, and he just left as governor of Rivers State. I know how the procedure works. The ministerial nominees were at the DSSS office yesterday. Then some were there on Sunday. Some will go there today. From there, they will now go to Code of Conduct Bureau to have their form there. From there, they will now come back to the Senate. So those are the procedures before you can emerge as a minister. If those things were not complied with, either as minister or after you left office, you have to be, you must be prosecuted, and that's a law of the land. But bow and go is not it's not a bad tradition, so to speak. But where it was being abused, that is when we can actually raise red flag.
But now, since you have said bow and go is not a bad tradition,
yes,
why subject certain nominees to intense questioning sessions?
It's not even intense. It was expected. Nelson Wike, the professor that was actually interrogated very well, he was never a senator. He was never a lawmaker. He's from the academic environment. The same thing applied to a particular fellow too. I don't want to be mentioned so that I will not be assassinating their characters, because they are before national TV, and we saw some discrepancies. So those zones are not and cannot be exempted, except you've been a lawmaker or a former minister or a former governor.
But don't you think what is good for the goose should be good for the gander also?
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Are you there? All right, I think the person forgot that he called. But another thing, because you were talking about the fact that it's not bad, it's not a bad tradition for the bow and go. I think I was surprised when I was watching a particular candidate, a lady representing Nasarawa State, from Nasarawa State, a nominee from Nasarawa State, Iman Ibrahim, and someone stood up and says he's a representative from Nasarawa South, and was like, then he said, we as representative from Nasarawa State unanimously would like to appeal to the to the assembly to actually just let her go without questioning. Why would that happen? But I was happy that some persons had to actually ask questions, because she had a lot to share. Now, making it just telling her to just bow and go would simply mean that we don't even know the content this person is carrying. I think sometimes they forget that in the National Assembly they are representatives of the people, and they need to ask the questions that the people would have asked on a good day, because these people cannot appear in front of Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians. You are supposed to be representing us, and that's why you were appointed there. So people are beginning to ask questions. So during the time when election was ongoing, and we had people from different factions, different parties, going in, it was more like a breath of fresh air, and we're going to have something different. But having a situation where some persons will just preside and say, let's just let this person go, and nobody questions it, it's going to raise questions of, are you sure we're not having rubber stamp in the 10th assembly?
just to add to what my colleague here has said, I believe just like you outlined the processes that needs to be fulfilled for you to become a minister, and the last part of that such process is going to the National Assembly for screening. The purpose of going to the National Assembly is for you to be asked questions by representatives of the people. For you to be asked questions, you are not going there to be told bow and go. If bow and go was something that's permitted, allowed, I mean, some of the nominees should have just been exempted and say, okay, since you have been a governor before, since you had been a minister or a senator before, you don't need to come to the National Assembly. You can just take your bow in your house and wait for your portfolios to be there
are privileges everywhere, and those privileges are not abused. It's just like if you want to become a senior advocate of Nigeria, so For instance, all of us can be lawyers. Then you're qualified to become a senior advocate. After 10 years at the bar, you apply, see some certain procedures, your appearance at the Supreme Court, appellate courts, and the cases and what have you. So that doesn't, but it was that privileges committee we assigned to you the rank of senior advocate. It's privileges committee. So the same privileges were actually extended at the Senate yesterday, and that has been the tradition. It's nothing inimical to constitution, but where it was being abused, that is when we can actually raise red flag, and which are number one, like she mentioned about a nominee from Nasarawa State, that some of the senators representing that state stood up in her defense that they should allow her to bow and go. But eventually, you see a senator from Lagos State, Tokunbo Abiru, representing Lagos State. It was one that actually provoked the thought of discrepancies in the resume of professor from Benue State yesterday. That my learning professor, you told us that you left secondary school, you were born in 1980. Even though the man himself told us, I was born in 1982. Oh, I was born in 1980. You see, those kind of common mistakes is not something appreciable. If not even because he is a professor, because you are actually representing a state, and you ought to have actually perfected your credentials. It's not something, because you are coming there as a cabinet member to decide on behalf of 200 million Nigerians, and if you yourself you lack in merit, how will you deliver? You see, your output will be so poor, and somebody else will not overlap your ministry. That means another 4 years, like we had in some previous administration. We had a minister of education in this country that for a year plus, he was out of the country on sick bed. So anybody can sick, anybody can die. But it's not an excuse arena that you'll be in public office and you'll be away. It's not a private enterprise. It's a public service. You have to be selfless. That is it. While some of us will be sleeping, you have to be working on our behalf. And you are being paid with our taxpayers' money. So in this regard, I believe bow and go tradition should not be abused, but it's not something that should be abolished. If you look at Senator Abba Kyari, he had been part of the Senate for 2 terms, and is even acting national chairman of the APC. He's a well-known person. Even in the Nigerian police force, in the army, in everything, if you are a well-known person, before the courts, the judge will use his or her discretion and grant you bail. That, oh, is a CON member, is MON member, recipient of MON, CON, CFR, he can't disappear from this country. Yes, based on personal recognition, he can be given bail to go home and come back some other time. The same thing applies to senators or those that have been ministers before, like Nelson Wike. He's just immediate past governor of Rivers State. And so Yoruba will say Otokuluni, that is a popular jingle. So there are certain characters that they can be exempted from such scrutiny, say bow and go. But we've seen some individuals that they need to scrutinize them to an extent so that we can get the best out of them.
All right,
okay, I want to ask you 2 questions now.
Let's quickly take this call. Apologies. Hello, good morning. Hello. Good morning. You're welcome to the press. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Joshua calling from Abeokuta.
All right, please join the conversation, Joshua.
Oh,
you need to turn down the volume of your TV set or step away from it.
It's already turned down.
Great, thank
turned
you.
Down already.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So, I appreciate your analysis there. So, what I just want to ask a question from me is, can you hear me?
Yes,
yes, I'm here with you.
Okay. During 2015, Goodluck Jonathan, or 2014, thereby, when he planned to remove the fuel subsidy, this present president and some other stakeholders gang up at the Ghanaian Farming Party to resist the removal of this fuel subsidy. Was it that removing the fuel subsidy during that time meant bad for us or good intention? Why now that is making us feel as if they are doing the best thing for us, whereas this should have been done during Goodluck Jonathan, and they came against this policy. Now they are coming. I am seeing Nigerians, or let me see, some tribe as being hypocrite because he is a Yoruba man.
we are saying Chekani so let's be patient for him. But then nobody came saying let's calm down for good luck Jonathan. Now he's removing the fuel subsidy now, a good thing for us. Even then, if it has been done there, we'll be buying for and do something. That would have been the best time for us to remove the fuel subsidy. Please, could you help me ask him that why do they commit to fuel subsidy during the Jonathan era? Why now?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
It's part of conversation, and Jonathan era at that time missed the point. They were not conversing, they were not communicating. It was after the protest. They now issued, they now converge a town hall meeting with Channels TV in Lagos. I was part of the people that were at Kanifayemi Park in Ojota, Lagos. So they announced to us in December that from January 1st, they're going to remove the subsidy. That's not how government works. And you need to allow people. I'm a father, I'm a husband. I need to tell my children, oh, it's now 600 per liter. I'm taking you to school to lesson. Now you have to wait for me. I'll come and pick you. The other of us go back to the house because I can't afford to go to office, come back and go. Sometimes I have to come and take you to my office. No, I'm taking you back home. You need to explain, you need to communicate to the children and the wife that, oh, we are having 3 meals in this house. We need to stagger it now in the morning and in the evening. They will understand. But if you're just expecting food to be served, Daddy, are we not eating this afternoon? Didn't you know cost of food production? There will be protests in the house because I've not communicated with them. So there was lack of communication with good intention. Okonjo-Iweala, Mrs. at that time, finance minister and former emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, did tell us that this subsidy of the thing is no longer tenable. That if you don't remove subsidy, there will be a period that we'll be struggling to pay salaries. And it came to pass. And when they saw that Nigerians actually rejected the subsidy of a thing, they actually folded up their arms. By 2015, when Buhari came on board, for almost 2 years, states were given bailout funds because we were actually consuming ourselves. We were consuming what was not available. We were giving out subsidy that was not available. So I cannot hold brief for Mr. President, but what I knew was that the president at that time, the regime at that time, under Ibe, never communicated in this regard. They just announced removal of subsidy. Like this of a thing, Tinubu has actually been canvassing removal of subsidy even before he was elected. That if he come on board, he's going to remove subsidy. And when he came on board at the Eagle Square, he even told us that Dele Alake, the then special advisor of media, did not actually make input to subsidy removal. But he felt that since Buhari regime had done away with the provisions of subsidy in the budget, there is no excuse again for him to announce on that day that this subsidy had to go. So in this regard, there was communication. In the other regard, there was no communication. You must have communication. You must consistent communication, conversation, engagement. You have to engage in the people because you are serving the people. So engagement means a lot. Even though you are in a bus going conveying, so oh, I have to enter filling station. If you don't announce to anybody that you are branching over at a filling station, there will be protests in the vehicle. That, okay, where are you going? I want to buy fuel. If there is no fuel, we are not going to Adesokan. Did you tell us? Because there is no conversation. There must be conversation, engagement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. In fact, it is important that we note the fact that communication is very important. Yes. We just hope that, in as much as we're optimistic about this administration, because he has addressed us like 3 times already in the space of 60 days, we hope that doesn't stop.
Yes, hopefully. He was in the trenches and he believed democratic principles need to be sustained. If truly we want to have democracy in our country, we still call it NASS. We saw what happened in Niger Republic. And we can't have the barbaric platform calling democracy. So Nigeria will be better off. God bless our country.
God bless us indeed. Thank you very much, Fatai Adesokan. Really
my pleasure always.
Your time today.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure always.
All right, viewers, that's where we'll draw the curtains on today's show. We'll see you again tomorrow. I am Olamide Alhassan. Bye.
And I am Francis Adeniyi. Do have a beautiful day ahead.